We've received an urgent request from the Northern Environmental Observatory. Brigands to the west of the facility have got their hands on a large stockpile of weapons and have taken it back to their base. This happened shortly after the recent tarfall abated. The surrounding area was littered with a massive quantity of cargo that had been washed up by the tar. The brigands wasted no time gathering up everything they could and hauling it back to their encampment. This included weapons and gear unlike any we've seen before. And now we've begun observing new brigand units in the field. These ones are wearing red, reinforced armor, accented with luminescent light strips. As their unique appearance suggests, they're more resistant to damage. Melee and electrical attacks are especially ineffective against them. These units have clearly been outfitted for close quarters combat, and their sudden deployment is troubling to say the least. Their presence likely indicates that the brigands are gearing up for a raid of some sort. And if we ignore this development, the brigands could use their new toys to attack the observatory, and there's no telling what might happen then. So we need to seize all of them before they have a chance to do so. Moreover, the latest data from the observatory strongly suggests an explosion of some sort occurred just beneath the Earth's surface not long ago. APAS analyzed the shockwave and has concluded that it is consistent with the type produced by ground-penetrating ordnance. This leads us to believe that the cargo the brigands secured may have included powerful explosive material. Directly assaulting the brigands using firearms risks triggering these devices, and we cannot predict how that would affect the region. Any sort of catastrophic explosion may also have an adverse impact on the tar currents. It is therefore critical that you avoid combat and secure the cargo without alerting them if possible. I implore you to take on this main order, Sam. And soon.
Thank you kindly. else out there. stretch my legs. Okay.
Did you really go out and steal all... Let me get started on I can't find a single scratch on any of this stuff. You truly are one of a kind. You have accomplished so much, done things only you could have done. We want you to have this data as thanks. we've increased your allocation of materials. Our way of...
Now displaying your current porter grade.
The guidepost data we just shared with you is great for making landmarks to prevent people from getting lost. And when you do place them, you'll find they're useful but also for creating routes that will facilitate travel for everyone. Aside from that, we've also made it so you can now use your PCC to fabricate bridges up to 80 meters in length. The rivers ahead of you are prone to flooding, so I imagine extra long bridges will be especially handy. Oh, and Sam, there's actually one other thing I wanted to talk about. Call it a little insight into the cargo you recovered on our behalf. It included a device I believe you guys have taken to calling a chiral jammer. These jammers are capable of disrupting the flow of local tar currents. In addition, you also recovered some explosives modded to be able to penetrate the ground and detonate within the tar. This would destabilize the currents over a large area. Needless to say, both these items could have been used to deliver an enormous blow to the chiral network. In other words, we've really dodged a bullet. But what I'd like to know is why this tech wound up in their hands in the first place. Can't chalk it up to pure chance. Honestly, it's almost like those brigands knew in advance that the tar was hiding cargo. We've got food for thought on the road.
Excellent work, Sam. You'll be happy to hear that tomorrow's regained consciousness. Once you're back on board the DHV Magellan, you should see for yourself.
Take care of yourself.
Yeah, sure thing.
Thanks. We appreciate it.
Stop it.
Someone doesn't like shoes? She won't even touch any normal food. But at least we managed to convince her to take a shower. No, tomorrow. We don't do that.
Seems like a real handful.
She just needs some time to settle.
You must be tired, Sam. Get some rest.
Hi, Sam.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Looking clean as a whistle. Tomorrow seemed to react negatively to overstimulation. This is likely just a defensive mechanism, so to speak. A way to safeguard her mind from the strange and unfamiliar. At times like these, it's best to limit the number of people attempting to help the distressed individual. So let's trust in Rainy and Fragile to take care of her. You've been receiving more dangerous orders. I respect your willingness to undertake them without any fuss. Please, don't hesitate to rely on me for assistance if you ever find yourself in need of it. While I'm incapable of fighting like you, if you throw me toward your enemies, I can keep them distracted for a short while at least. Apropos of nothing, the brigands' vehicles are of a rather antiquated design, significantly different from the standard pickup off-roader. You won't be able to get them repaired at distribution centers or on the DHV Magellan. Can't even store them in a garage. They're enemy property after all. Too risky to bring inside our facilities. Could be booby-trapped. I'd not get into the habit of using them too often if I were you. Ah, yes. It was a place that belonged to the dead. And while we were trapped there, only a scant few seconds seemed to have passed here. It's like the beach in that regard. Time flows differently there relative to how it does in our world. Those battlefields you once journeyed to were also pockets of reality outside of ours. But this was different. Perhaps we'll be able to understand it better if we ever get the chance to go there again. Which isn't to say that I want to go back.
Sam, by linking up the various sites farther to the north, you'll eventually be able to establish a connection to Hartman's facility. In short, it's time to tackle the northern part of the continent. Start by bringing the F2 South Distribution Center into the network. Some of the staff there are former residents of Cape Fort Knot who managed to escape the city before it was swallowed up by the tar. In addition to overseeing distribution operations, they also protect the facility from would-be assailants. Unfortunately, local chiral contamination levels are extremely high, leading to disturbing reports of paranormal phenomena near the facility. The cargo you're tasked with delivering should aid staff in dealing with this issue. Accept the main order from this delivery terminal to proceed.
Order accepted. Thank you.
Counting on you.
Security measures lifted. Weapons detected. Be advised that usage is restricted inside facility grounds.
Contamination in progress. No anomalies detected. Welcome, Sam.
You're with Drawbridge, I presume. Yeah, you seem like the genuine article. Welcome. Hope it wasn't too hard to track. I'll just need a moment. How did you manage to get it here without even a single scratch? You must be some kind of miracle worker. This cargo's been missing for a while now. You have been making a real difference around here. All right. Go ahead and put a...
Now displaying your current order grade.
So we've been linked up, at last. There's also the necrobiotes you brought us as well. Feels like we finally turned a corner.
For our part, we've shared data for some custom vehicle. I'm sure the vehicle parts in particular, you need all the help you can get. Because there are a bunch of fools who won't hesitate to kill people, with no shortage of lethal weaponry. Though I'll be damned if I know where they got it. Make sure you're prepared before you head their way. Speaking of which, those combat boots ought to add some serious power to your kicks. You might want to equip a pair if you intend on getting up close and personal. Some people have called me that. A while back we had a situation with this group that went around looting whatever supplies they felt like. And I was the boxing champ who went up against these guys and sent them all packing with nothing but his bare fists. That's the story they tell, but it sure as hell ain't the truth. I didn't charge gallantly into battle and beat the shit out of them. I approached them in peace so we could work it out. I asked why they were stealing from other people, and they said it was because they didn't have the skills to live any other way. So I taught them other ways to survive, trained them a bit. Nothing more than that, really. In the end, all we had to do was talk to each other. They weren't like the other riffraff you find around here. And they're still here. In fact, working in this facility. If anyone around here deserves to be called a hero, it's you, Sam. I mean, you're the one trekking across Australia trying to bring everyone together. Anyway, right now, we're trying to develop equipment tailored to close combat specialists. If we succeed, anyone will be capable of fighting as well as the so-called Golden Fist. Feel free to lend a hand if our project interests you. Thanks again. We're glad to have you in our corner. With your support, we'll be able to do so much more for others. Stay strong and keep doing your thing. We're in this fight together.
Sam, you're the best. Now get yourself back to the DHV Magellan and take a load off. Just so you know, tomorrow's been doing much better. Pay her a visit when you can, okay?
Order completed. Well done.
Disengaging weapons restrictions.
Take care, Sam.
Longer, okay? Raindrops are falling on my head, and just like the guy whose feet are too big for his bed, nothing seems to fit. Those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling. You know this song? So I just did me some talking to the sun. And I said I didn't like the way he got things done, sleeping on the job. Those Raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling. But there's one thing I know. The blues they send to meet me won't defeat me. It won't be long till happiness steps up to greet me. Okay.
Raindrops keep falling on my head, but that doesn't mean my eyes will soon be turning red.
Necrobiotes are fascinating, and they seem to have become more commonplace lately as well, ever since you and I were swallowed up by that tarfall, to be specific. This sudden increase in the population should be considered yet another example of an environmental anomaly. If we successfully extend the network across the continent and trigger a plate gate to appear, such anomalies should begin to wane. Why don't you try freshening up with a shower?
So you made it out okay. Those tremors were intense, but we're doing fine here. I think West Fort Knott got the worst of it, though. Your cargo has already been prepared. If you could deliver it to West Fort Knott as quickly as you can, that'd be great. We need to support each other at times like these, so pick up the priority order from the delivery terminal right away. I'm counting on...
Order accepted. Thank you.
This one's for you. Right, gotta load cargo onto the...
So I'll shut the door and leave for a glass of white champagne. Pour it on the TV screen.
Now leaving chiral network coverage.
Take the blonde with the blue bow in a city I don't know. In a city I don't know.
Thanks for the help.
Don't rely on famous men. still put up a fight.
Okay.
Well, I know you're tired, dear. So shut the door and leave.
This one's for you.
Famous men only live in common dens. Let me lie on Alice
Okay.
Disengaging weapons restrictions. Now entering chiral network coverage.
Gotta stretch my legs.
Sam, I'm so glad to see you again. We just got hit by a massive quake. I was afraid you might have got hurt out there, or worse. Anyway, I'll check your cargo. The cargo looks downright perfect to me. You certainly are good at what you do. It feels as though we're always leaning on you for support. Please allow us to return the favor with this data. Just wanted to let you know that we're increasing the amount of materials you can withdraw.
Now displaying your current porter grade.
Thank you so much. We should be able to get our... I've never felt trapped. It makes me pretty concerned about other folks living nearby. But at least the monorail you patched up seems to be none the worse for wear. Hey, out of curiosity, have you restored any of the other large mines? They'd be a great source of materials if you were ever in need. Rest assured, a lot of people are going to be singing your praises. Best of luck to you with everything.
Thanks for all your hard work. Everything there seems to be in order. But one cannot help but wonder what other facilities were affected. Anyway, you can pick up your next order from the F2 South Distribution Center. This one's a rescue mission, Sam. Someone's been taken hostage by the armed survivalists, and we need you to extract them to safety. The survivalists have been known to kill people, so you'll want to take extra care when preparing for this one. Oh, and it seems the tar currents have finally stabilized. So the DHB Magellan should be able to travel without issue. Call us if you need us. All right, Sam. Good luck.
Order completed. Well done. Order accepted. Thank you.
-61. Systems turned into traps and the fear is switching sides.
Safety first.
$1 million worth of stock, but I still won't sleep at night. What is it that I've become? -61. Now the water
Very impressive work, Sam.
rises high in my cold paradise. Men sit in circles and talk numbers I never really liked. The way they think of life as some kind of gamble and watch the city drown. Where is it that I belong?
Somebody lend me a hand!
-61.
Now leaving neural network coverage.
see the world they build to lose at the trial what is left and what is right. I made the worst mistake one
Now leaving Chiral network coverage.
business brings you to my doorstep? Wait, are you carrying some cargo that got washed away after the quake? I'll need a moment to process and confirm. Well, where on earth did you find this? I'd given up on ever seeing it. You, sir, are a good man, and I know I can rely on you. You're bringing people into the chiral network, yes? I'd be interested in that. Get me online.
I think this could prove useful to you. Try it and see if you agree. I call this an otter hood. It's an original invention of my very own. Put it on, and you'll find you can float in the water as happily as an otter. You'll never be at risk of drowning ever again. It's guaranteed to make you feel like a born swimmer, which, given the recent flooding, is great for people like me who can't swim at all. I'll bet you could find some use for it too, in your line of work. That's so. Someone else already went and made the same thing. Well, I just think otters are wonderful. You like them too, don't you? Despite being mammals, these adorable mustelids live the better part of their lives in water. Floating on the surface, flat on their backs. Grace personified. In becoming an otter, we can become one with the water. That's why I decided to create this hood. So, if someone else out there had the same idea, I bet we'd get along swimmingly. Anyway, if you don't have their hood, maybe you could still use mine. Though, saying that, I better come up with something new. Thanks, and come back again soon. I'll try to whip up something extra special to give you next time.
Order completed. Well done. Order accepted. Thank you.
-61. Have I ever really loved?
Disengaging weapons restrictions.
Take care, Sam.
The great system stuck to traps and the fears switching styles. I own $1 million worth of stock, but I still won't sleep at night. What is it that I've become? -61. Now the water level rises high in my cold paradise. My men sit in circles and talk numbers I never really liked. The way they think of life as some kind of gamble and watch the city drown. Where is it that I belong? see the world they build to lose at the trial. What is left and what is right? I made the worst mistake one can make, pretending and playing blind. What is it I'm trying to find?
Jibber jabber, jibber jabber, jabbering. Walking towards the light that guides you home. Whisper, whisper, whispering, whispering. Nobody is hurt. Nobody knows. If they bothered to see from the cage that nobody cares. Nobody knows. But just how it goes. Waste of breath, I'm unlisted.
I'm Sam!
Simply stone. To carry your weight into oblivion. Deep into the unknown. We had no choice to where we're thrown. To get out just how it goes. It's 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 just how it
That's the spirit.
There was a time when I would shatter at every hater's soul, but now I barely feel the pain when I fall. This violence is turning madness, forgetting what is soul. I tell you over, man, I'm breaking. You don't know. Don't waste your life obsessed
still out working hard after dark, I see. Appreciate the dedication. One moment while I check the orders. It's rare to receive something looking this good. I knew you were the right man for the job. Didn't expect you to waltz in with this. You've got a knack for finding lost things. It's thanks to you that we're in a position to share this data. Go ahead, give it a look. Bet you could use more materials, no? Which...
Now displaying your current porter grade.
This schematic is for combat power gloves. Slip them on, and you'll find you hit harder than ever before. No one will be able to match your strength in close combat, that's for sure. They also have a function that lets you harness energy before delivering a devastating electrical area attack. Any enemies caught in the surge will absorb a concentrated electrical charge, resulting in massive damage. So even if you encounter foes with formidable defenses down the road, you'll have no trouble defeating them with these gloves. As an added benefit, they'll also improve your ability to keep your balance and climb, which should make a difference in your delivery work. Using them will consume battery power though. See that you don't run out and find yourself at a disadvantage. We don't intend to stop our research anytime soon, so you can look forward to other inventions.
Order completed. Well done.
Feels good.
Hey Sam, Charlie here. This order is a hostage rescue operation. The target for extraction is this man. He was conducting a search in a mining region when communications abruptly ceased. He went there at the behest of the Dowser, who resides at the next facility you need to link up. Take heed that the mine in question is currently under the control of the armed survivalists, a faction whose members have no reservations about using lethal force and should be considered a serious threat. To make matters worse, some of them have been observed wearing armor as well as active skeletons. Such enemies will possess increased mobility and defensive capabilities. It would therefore be prudent to bring equipment to counter these advantages. There's no telling how much longer they'll keep the hostage alive. Moreover, saving him may help us to pursue future objectives in this region and beyond. Regardless, this is a matter of life and death for the Dowser's friend. Give your preparations all due consideration. He's counting on you, Sam.
accepted. Thank you.
Thank you kindly.
Hey, mine's heavier.
How you doing, Sam?
Now leaving chiral network coverage.
Definitely not alone.
The man we came to rescue appears to be unconscious. Place him in a protective bag and get him to safety. All right, time to take our ailing friend to the Dowser shelter. We just need to figure out how to get over these mountains first.
Security measures lifted. Weapons detected. Be advised that usage is restricted inside facility grounds.
Access the delivery terminal to process your orders and requests.
There you are. Thank goodness. And you saved my friend, too. Give me a moment to take stock. Wow, he looks as healthy as ever, despite having been held captive in enemy territory. That's amazing. This eluded even me, despite my best... There's something special about you. I can tell. I think you might be just the person I've been looking for. This was meant to be. I can feel it. Bring me online with your Cupid.
Now displaying your current order grade.
So, I'm a part of the chiral network now, am I? You can't even begin to imagine how much this is going to benefit my work. As thanks, I've shared the schematic for a level 2 PCC. I sense you'll need to build all kinds of structures to deal with the obstacles you're going to encounter from here on out. For instance, this more advanced PCC will allow you to fabricate zip lines. And this zip line's design is even better than the one you used back in the UCA. I also have another gift to share. Throw it up and prepare. That's a signature. It also has, but don't forget that boosting consumes. Oh, and in case you're wondering, that friend of mine you rescued is doing well. His condition is stable and I can't thank you enough for getting him. There's another request I'd like to send your way, but I'll need a little more time to get everything in order. I'm still in the middle of processing the item my friend recovered before, so I hope you don't mind waiting. I hate to inconvenience you, especially since I wouldn't even be able to make this request if you hadn't saved him. Oh, by the way, do you like apples? My friend brought a few back with him. It's just a shame he grabbed them before they'd fully ripened. He's got a bit of a... But don't worry, they'll be ready to eat soon enough. I'll send them to you then. Thank you again. I'm glad you were able to get them out safely. That group was more dangerous than your average band of hostiles. Those weapons they were carrying were state-of-the-art. You'll need to keep an eye out for them in the future. Groups like these make me nervous about letting Tomorrow spend time outside, even though she's doing better. When you return to the GHV Magellan, you should see for yourself how much progress she's made. And get some rest. You're long overdue. I'm sure Dahlman's tired too.
Order complete. Well done.
I appreciate your efforts.
Yo!
Take care, Sam.
I'm sorry, but you have to stay on board. It's too dangerous to go out by yourself. And you'll have to put on your shoes.
Look at this, Tamar. They're not quite ripe yet, but I think they might... It's okay, Tamar, really. For you.
That friend of the dowser we rescued was a very brave man, don't you think? To go to such a dangerous place all by himself, in spite of the countless potential risks. Perhaps it would have been better if he wasn't quite so brave. The armed survivalists don't seem concerned in the least about causing people's deaths. It's unconscionable, terrifying too. Man, the thought alone's enough to make me feel sick. Sam, none of us can go through catastrophic trauma without being forever scarred by the experience. Trying to reclaim a sense of normalcy through routine can help the heart to heal. Your deliveries are making a big difference, Sam. For others and for yourself. Apropos of nothing, so Samson Hook from the F2 South Distribution Center is not a man to be trifled with, no sir. I did some research, and I found he's a popular local figure, beloved by one and all, it seems. known as the Golden Fist as well. But don't misunderstand. I'd wager the people's love for him is not rooted solely in his considerable martial prowess.
Glad you're here. I thought both of you should have a say in this. Listen, about the girl, tomorrow. This is the spot where we picked her up. We're still reading Tarfall activity there, which means there might still be a passage to the other side. It's possible she could still use it to go back home.
You want to send her back to that hellhole?
If that's where her family is, it's where she belongs.
You've got to be kidding me.
This isn't her world. She isn't one of us. That chrysalis, we found her inside. It was filled with a fluid that contained amino acids. One's identical in structure to the kind found in tar.
I'm sorry, there are amino acids in tar? As in proteins?
Of course. How else did you think that chiral creatures could emerge from it? Or to be more accurate, be born from it? Some have even theorized that the tar is a sort of primordial soup.
Wait, are you saying that tomorrow is a chiral creature?
No, not at all. Her DNA and cellular structure prove that she's human.
Well, the world we found her in was filled with the dead. Almost like some kind of beach. But tomorrow herself is alive. She's a living human being. We should look after her here. Women and children and the weak have always been easy targets. In every conflict and disaster, we're always the first to suffer.
But even if her world is as bleak as you suspect, she may still be happier there, surrounded by the friends and family she knows and loves.
Friends and family don't guarantee happiness. Not in the least.
I understand how you feel, but I believe she should stay with us. Sam.
I was there. I saw her home. And it was a hellhole. We can't send her back.
All right. I'm pulling rank and making the call. She stays. At least until things have calmed down. Understood?
Did you hear that just now? It came from the hall outside. It's hard to say what we should do about tomorrow. That everyone is of a different opinion is to be expected. Our positions are informed by our past experiences. To me, it matters less where I am than who I am with. So long as I am in the company of those I care about, I am happy to go wherever. But what does tomorrow think, I wonder? Until she can speak for herself, I believe we should go with what Fragile has decided.